Give everybody a second here as people start trickling in. Welcome and thank you for coming today to our Unchained California Learning webinar series on social media for social change. My name is Leslie Alfaro and I'm a program manager here with Unchained California. And I know I say this every time, but I am so excited for today's presentation. We have three awesome presenters today who are going to be talking about the different ways that we can improve our social media, right? Even if you have a really small account or really big account, how do we change some of those things to really help change the conversation, not just around addiction, but around a lot of these big social issues. But before we get started on all of that, and I kick it over to our presenters, just doing a quick overview of where we are with our campaign so far. So we are officially in the third quarter of our first year. I am going to pre-apologize for how many times I'm going to ask you all to email me things. I will say it like at least 5 times. But we are now working, we're still getting new partners every day and seeing people who want to share their stories. So if you do want to, if you do know someone who wants to share their story, we'll be sharing that link in the chat for everybody. You can go on there, click on there, fill out the form, and we will set up some time to talk about the process and what it all means. You can also just email us, unshamedca@shatterproof.org. Both Saskia and I check that regularly, so please do send out an email if you have anyone that you know wants to share a story, if you want to share a story. We are on a mission to hit 400 followers on social media, specifically on our Instagram, but we have been putting out some great content with some of our influencers. You may have missed it. If you have, I urge you to go over to Unshamed CA and follow us. I think we're at 350 last I checked. So we have 50 more people. That would be great if you guys could go on there and follow us. Our website, so many great things on there. Our resources, you can find all of our past webinar recordings, as well as treatment finder atlas, and a lot of just different resource links, as well as downloadable content. We do have it currently in English and Spanish, but we are working on getting it translated into other languages and posted as well. You can also go on there and check out to see if you're a partner. If you're not on that partners page, that logo page, and you want to be added, Saskia is going to be dropping another link in the chat for all of you. You can go on there, fill out that partner intake form, takes about 3 minutes, and we can add you to that page, or you can email us and we will reach out to you and go over, you know, what it means to be a partner, all of that information as well. Just some general housekeeping. This webinar will be recorded and available on the Unshamed California website. You can use the Q&A section down at the bottom to type in any questions that you may have. We will be saving around 10 minutes at the end for our presenters to go through any questions. You can also just drop it in the chat. We'll be able to see that as well. And then lastly, we have our lovely interpreters on the line as well. So if you want, or if you would prefer to listen to this in Spanish, you can just click the interpretation button and select Spanish, and you can do that as well. Thank you everyone again for being here. You can always email me. I said it a lot of times because we do mean it. We love to hear from people. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, ideas, even if you want to just share an event that you're having coming up, you want to share that with us, a resource that you think we should add to our website, you can email me at my email, or unshamedca@shatterproof.org, and we will get back to you. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to our presenters today. We have Isabella Bower, Grace Van de Bosch, and Samantha Simmons, who are going to be doing our presentation. I will give it over to you guys to take it away.
Hi all, my name is Samantha Simmons. I'm an influencer marketing coordinator on the Unshamed California campaign. And I'll pass it over to my colleagues to introduce themselves as well.
Hi everyone, I'm Isabella. I'm the digital advertisement manager here at Shatterproof. I work directly with Sam and Grace. Very excited to be presenting this webinar today.
Hi, I'm Grace Vanbosch. I'm another influencer marketing coordinator at Shatterproof. Sorry, I'm the one sharing my screen, and so it's just taking me a second to pull it up. Are you seeing it in present mode, or is it showing you what it's showing me with the orange up here?
Yeah, it's still loading, but yeah.
I was not having this difficulty with it yesterday. Cool, great.
All right, I can kick us off and jump in. So thank you so much for joining us today. As you know, today, me and the rest of the digital team are going to be discussing social media for narrative and social change. For our agenda, we will be going over social media as an accessible tool for narrative change, meeting communities where they are, and using data to make informed content decisions. So social media is a powerful tool to reach many audiences and shift narratives, especially when it comes to substance use disorders. It's also a great way to share stories of people impacted by substance use disorder. Stories foster connection, and connection creates change. Social media also has the power to influence individual beliefs, attitudes, and behaviors. So with that said, social norms are able to move at a faster rate based on people's rate of consumption of social media. So what is social norms theory? Social norms theory articulates that our perceptions of our peers' attitudes and behaviors influence our own attitudes and behaviors. Through social media, social norms are able to shift much faster. And by leveraging this, we can use social norms marketing campaigns to reduce stigma associated with substance use disorder. And we are able to change negative attitudes and counter misinformation. So what does this mean for us? Well, we have the opportunity to shift attitudes about substance use disorder in real time as they're being formed and reinforced. So now that we have an understanding of social norms theory, let's discuss why social media is a great tool for social change. So social media is able to remove barriers and resistance between audiences. You're able to engage in better message targeting, especially through tools like Facebook ads. And you can easily identify community leaders and trusted messengers for whatever you're trying to communicate to your audience. Social media also provides access. You're able through social media to provide access to low-cost educational resources to the community. You're able to do frequent and easy audience testing. Information travels super quickly on social media, and most platforms offer measurement capabilities and insights for you to easily track the performance of your campaigns and just make sure that whatever it is that you're communicating to your audience is sticking. So now that we've discussed why social media is a great tool for change, let's talk about how we can change narratives on social media, which is through bite-sized learning. So what is bite-sized learning? Bite-sized learning is impactful yet digestible information, and it basically breaks down complex or lengthy topics into smaller, more manageable chunks. So some examples of this would be like how-to content, 5-minute hacks, or like 4 signs you may, whatever that is. And bite-sized learning also features simplified language. It's also important to keep in mind that we're using simple language, not stigmatizing language, which also leads me to the next point that language guides are a great example of bite-sized learning, and that can be shared on social media. Bite-sized learning also relies on the audience existing knowledge. It allows us to meet our audience where they are and helps us to build framing. Something else that is important for us to touch on is the importance of curating and sharing others' content on social media. So it's content curation. Basically, it's when you find and share high quality content that's relevant to your online followers from other social media accounts. This is a great way of increasing engagement and interaction with other social media accounts, and there's so many benefits to doing this. By doing this, we were able to share diverse perspectives and diversify out our content. We're able to increase time and resource efficiency. It's also a great way of supporting others in the community who share the same mission as you. And we're able to continue our own education and learning as well as increase our audience's knowledge by sharing that content. And lastly, I want to go over, thank you. Lastly, I want to go over some of the most commonly used social media platforms. There are so many available to utilize, but today we'll be discussing just the ones bolded in more detail. So these platforms are Facebook, Instagram, X, also known as Twitter, formerly known as Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, Pinterest, Twitch, which is like a streaming platform, Snapchat, Be Real, and Reddit. By considering your audience and overall goal of your social media campaign, you can be sure to just utilize the social media platform that would be best suited for your needs. Okay, so I'll pass it over to Grace now for the next section of the webinar.
Yeah, so now we're going to talk about meeting communities where they are. I'm going to go through a couple of different social media platforms that you may be using at your org, but we use at ours, and how to the audiences that are on there first and foremost, and then how to most effectively post content to those platforms. So first, just a quick little Zoom poll, nothing crazy, but we're just asking to get a sense of what social media platforms do you currently use at your org? And then we listed the ones out here that we use most explicitly, but then there are also other options why we included none and other. So yeah, we're gonna just take a quick second, fill that out. It's not, that information's not gonna go anywhere. It just helps us get a sense of if we're in the same vein, if our information will be relevant to you. See if you're paying attention. Kidding. I am not able to see results. Oh, there we are. Thanks, Leslie. You're in my mind. Okay, yeah, kind of what I was thinking, especially in line with the work that we do. The most common ones would be our Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, especially with our story videos and long form story content. YouTube and Facebook are pretty popular there. So that all makes sense. It all checks out. And this presentation will be super relevant for you. So it's all great. No X. Yeah, I'm surprised. Maybe still Twitter. I haven't fully accepted the rebranding. But when it comes to social media usage, over 4.1 billion people use social media on a daily basis. Roughly 1/3 of Americans say that they use Facebook to get their news. And to that as well is that Americans can use social media sites and think that they are somewhat effective to raise public awareness and change people's minds on a political or social issue. So people are really using using Facebook and these platforms to talk news, politics, social issues. And then TikTok, a rising platform. TikTok users are twice as likely than other users of other platforms to recommend something that they found on TikTok. And 92% of TikTok users are inspired to take an action after watching a video, whether that be donating to a campaign, visiting a website, participating in a challenge. So people are very active on these sites. We know what they're looking for, and we're using that to our advantage when we're sending information out on these various platforms. So the first one we'll go through is Facebook. It has about 2 million daily active users, with the largest age group being 25 to 34. I'm going to preface now, I have a lot of information like this that I'm going to go through, but I'm going to try and point out the biggest points and most interesting information for you. So large age group 25 to 34. We don't have, their site we're using didn't have information on other genders outside of male and female. So you will see just the 2 male and female genders there, but recognize that not everyone falls into those 2 categories, but this is what we have the data on. So about half and half male and female, about 30 minutes every day people spend on Facebook. And then across baby boomers, millennials, and Gen X, it's kind of a rough split of a majority of those age groups are using Facebook, especially within the last 3 months. And people are using Facebook to community build, whether it be connect to people, talk about people that share their talk to people that share their interests. People are really using Facebook as a way to grow their community. So the best content for Facebook, as it remains the largest active social media platform, is going to be evergreen content. This is going to be content that stays relevant long after you've posted it. It's story or long form videos, it's how-to or tip style content, or they're called listicles, the top 10 reasons why you should do something, the top 10 best, things like that, the lists that people can go through. Anything that people would be able to search and your post would pop up on Facebook. Additionally, on Facebook, posts that encourage engagement. So open-ended questions, asking for opinions, those posts are going to do well. And Facebook groups are a very popular and common way to reach audiences on Facebook and build a community talking about whatever you want to specifically target. Next, moving to Instagram, has about 500 million active daily users. The largest age group tied between Gen Z and millennial, 25 and 34, and 18 to 24. Again, kind of split male and female, and about half an hour spent every day by an average user. On Instagram, men 18 to 24 and 25 to 34 are going to be the largest active demographic. And Instagram is going to give you your highest return of investment, engagement, and highest quality leads. So the money that you're putting into Instagram is effective. It's being your posts, your content, and the money that you're spending, it's being seen, it's being interacted with, people are engaging. Instagram is going to give you your best investment there. Instagram is a video first platform. So it's really important here that you're utilizing reels with trending sounds or closed captioning, text on screen. People don't want to have to unmute to watch your video. So if they can read your video while they're watching it, they're much more likely to keep watching it. And Instagram is all about authenticity and not authenticity, but interpersonal promotion. And so influencers and user generated content is going to be really beneficial for you here, because you're relying on community leaders, trusted voices, collab posts, and you're really relying on your community to provide you with the content, with the conversation drivers, and have a more authentic feel to your brand. Then we move on to X or Twitter. Largest age group is 18 to 29. Kind of more split male than female here, but representation for both groups. And again, about 30 minutes spent every day. Twitter is the 6th most, I'm going to call it Twitter. I'm sorry. Twitter is the 6th most visited website in the United States, and there are about 347,000 tweets sent a minute on Twitter. So people are talking, and they're talking quickly on Twitter. Here's going to be your best place to really share information quickly or start or join a conversation. But as that many tweets are sent out in a day, things move at a very fast pace. So you want to keep your stuff interesting, relevant, short and sweet, and to the point with your copy, very short and sweet. And you're using polls or asking questions. having images, but they're references for your discussion. It's really anything you can do to keep the conversation moving forward. An important note about Twitter is that while other platforms you may use hashtags to get reach on some of your content, people that may be scrolling that hashtag, on Twitter, it's really important that the hashtags you're using are relevant to what you're talking about, because people will be using those hashtags as a way to find and join conversations. TikTok, this is a big one, growing, rising. There's about 2.5 billion daily active users. So a much larger size than the other platforms we've been looking at. Largest age group is 25 to 34. This one skews a little bit more female than male. And this is the big one, is that the average time spent is an hour and a half compared to half an hour on other social media platforms. So people are investing time and spending time on TikTok. Again, as I mentioned before, TikTok users are twice as likely than other platforms to recommend something that they've found. 92% of users will participate in a challenge, use a sound that they found, use a filter, or not filter, but like a video template, will participate in a challenge, will visit a site. People are actively following calls to action on TikTok. Here, your best content is going to be to let loose and have a little fun. TikTok is really about authenticity and being genuine over your brand identity here. So like highlighting your brand voice, or highlighting your brand voice over a perfectly curated aesthetic is going to do you well, because people want to see the human element of your work, your content, whatever you may do. So you want to make your first few seconds count. You want to tailor it to TikTok with the sounds, with the voiceovers. If you don't know about it, CapCut is a fantastic resource for beginning making trending videos on TikTok. It gives you a template, it helps you fill in the template. You really don't have to do a whole lot of nitty-gritty editing. And you just want your content on TikTok to be, like we've said, digestible, bite-sized, that's educational or entertaining. You have about 6 seconds to keep someone's attention on social media. So you really want to keep it entertaining and make it count. Again, here, like Instagram, user-generated content and influencer sponsorship will do well. Finally, YouTube. So YouTube has about 122 million daily users, with your largest age group being 25 to 39. Kind of split between male and female demographic. Again, about half an hour spent every day. Interesting here is that YouTube is as equally popular among Gen Z, millennials, and Gen X audiences. With Gen Zers saying that YouTube is the second most popular way that they discover a new product is through YouTube ads that they get. So when you're putting stuff out here, you really are reaching a wide variety within your audiences, a wide demographic, and you can tailor your content to match that. With YouTube, consistency is going to be more important than frequency. People will turn on notifications and wait for you to post if they're really excited about your content. But to that, they will then be sad if it's not posted at the same time each week or every 2 weeks. So your consistency is going to be important over if you're posting 4 videos at once or every single day. If you can't maintain that, it's kind of the same across other platforms. Important on YouTube is using chapters and video sections and closed captioning your videos, if not only for accessibility, but then it also helps people watch your content without having to turn sound on, have headphones. They can do it in environments and spaces where they may have the time, but not the privacy to listen to it. And then you want your thumbnails on YouTube are very important. You want them to be eye-catching. You want it to be so good and informative that people don't need to actually read the title of your video. They can get a gist of what your video is going to talk about from your thumbnail, and logos or icons can be really helpful in helping you convey that message. Important to note here, it's a new and rising part of YouTube, but YouTube Shorts is a growing feature of the platform, and the practices are pretty similar to TikTok in that it's going to be short videos, it's going to be fun, it's going to be a lot quicker. But the difference there with YouTube Shorts over TikTok is that your YouTube audience is following you for a reason. So they're going to care more that what they're watching is relevant to you than if it's fun and trendy. And now, after all of that, I will pass it over to Bella to talk about using data.
Right. Thank you so much, Grace. That was very, very useful, a lot of information. So right now we're going to be diving into using all of that information or more data. Where are you getting the data from to improve or even execute your digital campaigns? It could be just your regular posts. You don't have to promote anything online to get to your audience. But first of all, let's ask ourselves, how important is data? So Grace just presented to us all of the metrics regarding several different platforms. We have this data on our hands now. What do we do with it? What do we do with the audience insights that we receive from our platforms on Instagram, if you have a professional account, or your Facebook accounts, Facebook pages, YouTube pages? So data basically has relationships with every single topic that I have listed here. So with data, we can then get audience insights to make our platform selection, as Grace mentioned. With all that data, how we're going to select, okay, if you want to reach 25 to 39 years old, what is the best platform that I have to be into? And then what are my competitors doing? What are other organizations doing? Do I want to produce content that is similar to them? That's data that you can collect. And then finally, you're going to have enough information to start your content creation, your content scheduling. Is my audience online in the morning, in the afternoon? What times are they engaging better with my content? We can track all of the engagement and transform this into a report, and then finally take decisions regarding our campaign. Okay, I feel like I'm finally ready to get an influencer partnership, to generate brand awareness to my organization, to my message. How am I going to select this influencer? We got to look at the data. What are their audience at? What are they talking about? How can I relate my message to the influencer work? And maybe you can even find influencers through hashtags and keyword analysis that you can easily pull up from any of these platforms. This is all free. You don't have to have a media tracking platform that tracks activities from all of the YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, whatever platform that you want to use. All of this data is completely free, and you can definitely use to incorporate in your strategy. Okay, now I decided to go on Twitter. People are joining my conversations. They're not joining in the way that I expected. Okay, let's get the data to go over crisis management. How am I going to monitor the comments that I'm receiving on my posts if they're not what I was expecting they would be? We can measure the return of investment. And by return of investment, it could not only be investment in paid media or paid ads or anything that you like to use, but also investment in time. Let's say you're putting all of the time from your accounts on creating photo content, but then you discover that people are engaging much more with video. How are you going to delegate this time and this investment that you're doing? You have to base it on data. You can track your conversions. You can track long-term trends to make sure your content is always relevant to the people that you want to show it to. You can track campaign optimizations. You can basically improve, always improves, and continuously improving your campaign with data. So I believe the most important starting point for start using data and anything relevant that you might find from these platforms and then start creating content or start improving the content that you already produce is actually having a very strong and very well-defined priority population, because from that, you can do anything else. You can create your content accordingly. You can create your content calendar accordingly to what is relevant to them. So who needs to hear your message? Who needs to hear our message? So first of all, we can start with a demographic analysis, which is a very simple way to get information from your demographic, your party population. So first, just analyze data such as age, gender, location, language preferences. You can use all of the social media analytics tools that are free from these platforms to gather this information. And then the second part, which is even more important than that I would say from data, gender, and everything, is what they're interested in. So you can go beyond the demographics and delve into psychographics, including interests, values, and behaviors. You can easily also conduct surveys or polls online. So you can use these social media listening tools to finally get sentiment and opinions to see where you're going to fit in your message to your audience. And then the second question that you should ask yourself when you're defining your party population is, what unique needs or preference does this population have? So you can definitely use the social media analytics tools, or even use the search bar on any of the social medias to see like relevant hashtags, relevant keywords, and use all the Facebook, Twitter analytics, Facebook insights to gain some additional insights from what Grace presented about your audience. And then finally go into audience segmentation. So you can segment your audience into distinct groups based on very common characteristics, interests that they have. And then the most relevant tip that I would say I have for defining your party population is starting always with 1 or 2 maximum. If you don't have much time, if you don't have a lot of money to invest in the content creation or in the paid media that you want to use, please start with a small group, because the chances of success are much higher. And then finally, you can tailor your content to each one of those segments that you chose. And you can either tailor it by message, the language, the voice that you want to use. Do you want to be more colloquial? Do you want to be more formal? Am I going to do photo content or video content to make sure I am talking to an audience that is going to absorb my message? And then the last question that you should ask yourself when you're defining your party population is, what will make them engage more with my content? So basically, you're spending a lot of time creating content. You're spending a lot of time writing those messages, taking pictures, or creating videos, editing videos. Do you want people to see what you're putting out there? So what you can do, that is a very easy step for you to start, is doing a historical data analysis. So basically reviewing all of your past social media posts and their performance. What performs better with that audience specifically? What performs better to the audience that you want to reach? You can identify all the patterns, like if they're engaging with videos, are they just liking, or they're also leaving a comment? Are they sharing with their friends? What pops up on their feeds that gets their attention? And what worked well in the past from your feed, and also from the campaigns that you manage. And I also always advise to do collaborative workshops and brainstorms. And that could not only be with your coworkers or people who work with you, but always with the audience that you wanna reach. So let's say you want to reach the transition age youth. Let's talk with them, because they're going to have a lot of cool insights that you can use in your strategy. You don't have to be a social media expert to share valuable insights. I believe that you just have to be a social media user, and the most of us are. So it's just a matter of talking to people, getting ideas, going around, talking to whoever you want to talk to, and getting those insights to implement your strategy. So by combining all of those methods, you can build a super comprehensive understanding of your social media audience, allowing you to create content that effectively engages and resonates with them. So as Grace mentioned, as Sen mentioned, let's meet our audience where they are. Are they on Twitter? Are they on Facebook? Are they on Instagram? Let's get this data so we can then deliver a message to where they are. and in a way that they understand. You don't have to be explaining a super complex subject without simplifying the message if you're not there yet. So I love this quote from Walter Lippmann that says, "It requires wisdom to understand wisdom. The music is nothing if the audience is deaf. So let's make sure people are understanding what we have to say." It's very important to adapt our message. It's very important to meet people where they are, not only in social platforms, but in terms of delivering that message. So putting it all together, I have now a few steps that you can actually execute, leaving this meeting or leaving or this afternoon, whatever you want to start working to improve your campaigns. So just a small tips, best practices, best industry, best practices. So let's set clear objectives and key performance indicators. So before launching your social media campaign, it's very important that you define those clear objectives, because each content and each strategy have different goals. So what exactly do you want to achieve every time that you post something? Do you want people to know about your organization? Do you want people to go to your website after they see your posts? Do you want to increase sales, donations, any type of engagements? Do you want them to download a form? Do you want them to, I don't know, just engage with your content and increase your popularity on your Instagram page? Let's define that so you can then create your content already thinking about that. And then identify all those KPIs that align with our objectives. So if you want to increase brand awareness, maybe just impressions and views will be a cool metric for you to keep track. But if you then want them to leave a comment on your post or share this post to a friend, then maybe engagement is the performance indicator that you want to track. And so having all of those specific goals and metrics will help you track your progress and measure your success. And the second step would be always analyze your post performance. So you can regularly review performance of your social media posts by examining likes, comments, shares, and click-through rates. You can identify the type of content that resonates with your audience and which ones do not, what has success, what doesn't have, what time did you post your viral post, what time did you post that post that had 2 likes and one of them was your best friend, maybe didn't resonate with the audience that you wanted to reach. But let's keep track of that so you can always keep improving. You can look for all of those patterns and trends and your data to inform your future content creation. And then finally, the third one, if you're tracking and measuring the progress, like you're collecting all of that data. So let's set up a system where you have all of the performance of your social media campaigns, all of the performance of your social media posts. And then you can create those regular reports that include key metrics and compare them with each other. You can do that manually. You can use Instagram tools to do that. There's a lot of free platforms available that provide, you can just input your account information in, and it has all of the metrics saying which one was your higher performing post. So you can then use this data, identify the trends, and then adjust your strategy based on what the data reveals. And reallocate, of course, your resources, as I said, that could not only be budget, but also your time. So putting it all together, we do use a lot of data and we tailor several of our messages to deliver. I just wanted to let you all know that we have a lot of those messagings available if you want to reshare this content, if you want us to provide mockups that you can use to creating your posts, or Canva for starters that you can just put your text and use a background image or any of that, please reach out to us by email. We'll be happy to provide that to you. But there's a lot of content available from Unchained California that you can use, reshare, comment, and then use it for your account. And with that, I will open the room for questions and pass it back to Leslie.
Thank you so much for that, Bella and Grace. I will let people start trickling in their questions again. Just as a reminder, feel free to drop them into the chat or the Q&A. And while we give people some time to think of those, I guess for me, right, if there's an organization and say they only have one person working on this, they only have 5 hours a week, we'll be generous here. How should they allocate their time when they're working on this, right? Like say they already determined who their audience is, they already kind of have an idea of where to post. Should they spend more time analyzing data? Should they spend more time creating new content? What do you guys think about that?
I can jump in and then I'll pass it back to you, Grace, if you have any additional thoughts. But I would say that the more content you have out there, the more data you would have to analyze it and to make improvements. So we need to get the content out there, so I would definitely prioritize creating content, do with whatever information you have at the moment. You don't have to be a data expert to start. You don't have to be a research expert to make one Instagram post. But once you put this post out there and you would see how people are engaging, how people are commenting with it, what information can you get from there? And then you can improve your campaign and your positioning. So I would say definitely start by posting and getting your content out there, and then get the data and whatever information you can after that. So Grace, do you have anything else to add?
Yeah, I would just say that, like we've said, consistency is key. So yeah, even if you only have like 5 hours a week, in a month, 15 of that could and should probably be going to making and scheduling content so that it's coming out all at the same time. And then kind of like us, you can spend 5 of those hours once a month going over your data, looking for key improvements, talking about, okay, that worked, that didn't. Next month, we'll try this instead.
Yeah, we have a question here in the chat. Our substance use disorder social media posts have almost no likes. We spend a lot of resources with very little response. Are there any specific strategies that work when we're talking about SUD and media?
So I would say that since substance use disorder is, first of all, a very sensitive subject, and the general public is not really aware of what is it and how to talk about it, how to deal with it. So maybe that's the response that you're getting with no engagement, no likes, no shares, is more related to people who don't know what you're talking about, or are not prepared to engage with your content. So I would say a very easy strategy is to not only simplify the message, but turn the message relevant into the audience. What I mean by that is, so you're not going to approach substance use disorder as a plain subject, but you can also always attach it to something that they already know of. So let's relate it to a family member. Let's relate it to a story where a person can then learn a little bit more about what substance use disorder is and how that develops, how is a treatable medical condition, how they can best support their family members or someone that has that, or then relating it to like a coworker or a friend or someone they know. Because when you approach it as a simple scientific medical term, a lot of people won't know what you're talking about and probably not engage it. And another tip that I would have is maybe on the format of the content, maybe what Sam mentioned about bite-sized learning, and then always simplifying the message, always making it more engaging. Is it a short video that might resolve your engagement problem? Because maybe you're using just still photos, maybe you're using text to explain what it is, and people want something more digestible. I don't know for sure, but that's something that I can imagine, and that's something that we faced before. So those were the ways that we try to use to increase engagement when talking about that. Grace, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I would just say that, like, especially with a topic as broad and as sensitive as like substance use disorder, knowing your audience and tailoring your message to speak directly to whatever audience you're trying to speak to in that moment is going to gonna do you better in content. In just so like I'm losing my own train of thought as I say it, but what I mean is that because it can be so broad, if you know that you're specifically talking about something that's geared towards young adults, you're gonna want to tailor your message to young adults. You're gonna want to maybe even change the content style, use an influencer, make it something trendy or fun, where if you're talking to an older demographic, you'll have to focus on a different style, different words, different tone. And I think knowing when you're going into posting and going on to whichever platform you're posting on, knowing ahead of time, like, okay, I know that this post is specifically targeted towards 18 to 25-year-olds. So if I get a bunch of 60-year-olds that don't get it, don't like it in the comments, it's not targeted for them. You really have to, you can and hit the niches a little bit more specifically.
Just for a bit of context for the audience as well, Grace, Bella, and Sam, who had to leave as well, run our social media, not just for Unshame California, but also on our other stigma campaigns across the country. So they are very good at sort of targeting what it looks like for each state, right? If you go to Unshame Kentucky or Georgia Recovers, some of the other stigma campaigns, they're going to look very different than what California's looks like, because there's part of this sort of knowing your audience and who you're talking to. Another question that I was just thinking of, many of our partners are people or organizations like healthcare centers or treatment organizations. How do you think about defining your audience when technically your audience can be anyone, right? Like anyone can be an audience person that you're trying to talk to when you're talking about a massive healthcare center that provides services for anyone. How do we bring that down into a priority audience for your social media?
Do you want to start with that one, Grace?
Sorry, can you repeat it? I got distracted by a question in the chat and I was looking for resources that I use.
We got Dean asking the good questions over here. No, just saying, like, how do we help, or how do we think about prioritizing our audience or finding that audience that we want to talk to, when for many of the organizations that are partners, their audience is everybody, right? Like if you're this massive healthcare center, your audience is anybody who has health, and that's everybody.
I love that question. I think that's one of the topics that we most discuss at Shatterproof internally when we are creating our digital strategies, because our party population, like people who need to hear our message, is basically everyone. So who do we start with? There are several ways to choose that. First of all, what is the population that are more willing to change or to take the action that you want them to take? How old are them? What platforms are they using, and what type of content that they engage with? I think that's the most basic questions where we can start a conversation. when defining our priority population. So and I always say, if your target is everyone, you're doing it wrong, because there's no way to change the world or changing everyone's opinion or to make every single one of us buy one same product, because the product or the message may not be for us. And it's much easier for you to tailor your priority population group. Like, let's start with this. I don't know, that might be a difference for each one of those organizations that are here, but there's a lot of opportunities. And if you look into your message and what is the core of your organization, you will then find people that are interested in listening to you and who are most in need of your message. Cool examples that we might have is like, so for example, we run stigma campaigns, but other organizations run overdose campaigns. And then who actually needs to hear overdose messagings? Are people who are close or in risk of suffering an overdose, or close in risk of a friend that is in the same situation. Maybe these are ways that you can target this population and narrow down a little bit the population itself. But yeah, I would start with that. It's general public, it's way too general. It's way too many people. So
Yeah, I'd say also putting some, and I mean, this is because it's kind of what we do in our influencer work, but putting some of the work onto your followers, onto the people engaging with your content, of that when we look at starting a campaign, we look at the groups that are going to have the heart, like the most work that it takes to get them to buy into what we're saying, and the groups that are already bought into what we're saying and are like, yes, we love it, great, fantastic. And using them to then help us bridge that connection to groups that may be hard to buy in, that we may not be able to reach through our specific targeting, and putting that on them of like, start the conversation. Here's this resource. Encourage your friends and family to share their stories. Really putting an element of call to action isn't the right word, but like really using that call to action as it's just as much our work as it is on the people that we're really like bought in with to kind of carry on the work that we're doing in communities.
Some more questions that I'm seeing here. Is there a list of good hashtags to use for growing your audience, for getting engagement on things?
So that's the resource that I was looking for, and I can have, so Leslie, I can send them over to you and have them sent out, or my email will be sent out after, I'm pretty sure, as well. It's a little bit of all. There's some sites that you can use that I will have Leslie send that can kind of track how popular your hashtags are that you're looking at. And it's a combo of wanting to use hashtags that you know people use and will look through and will get you reach, but then not using ones that have 8 billion posts under them, because yours will get lost in the fray, and kind of using that information to build your own. We do a lot of like building our own hashtags, but including parts that come from popular hashtags, and I can send out how we do that.
And I can definitely send it out to everybody. You'll get an email probably 3 days from now with the survey link, and that will also include any of the resources that our presenters want to share. We have another question here. Do you have any examples of posts that have really made a huge impact in any demographic?
we have a couple. So usually the highest engagement we receive are from story sharers, short format videos. So we have this framework where we added some key phrasing and key parts of a story sharer videos, where they translate the sentiment or, an issue that they faced, or a very positive message related to substance use disorder and recovery, and I don't know, a family member or their own stories. But all of those posts are very, very high engagement. So I would even say that not only for that, but also for story sharer quotes, everything that is person first, because I would even say that we usually are in social media to see what other people are doing, like what they have to teach me, what they can say that I wanna, what information they have that I don't have, what I consume entertainment based on other people's lives. So every time that we feature a person and something very personal, like a personal perspective or a story, a lot of people engage with that. That's the highest engagement that we receive from all states, not only in California, but in Kentucky, Georgia. We have seen a lot of engagement coming from that as well.
Yeah, I would throw in I would say our influencer content as well, because we do work very hard and closely with the influencers to tailor whatever message they are posting to be unique to their audience and to their voice and to their tone, so that it's not just a copy and paste. You've seen the same ad from Unchained California 6 times. So those are very tailored and very specific to the influencer, to their audience, to their demographics. And that's why those posts perform well, and we use them as a core point of our marketing because it's so tailored to demographics.
And then we had, for smaller orgs, this feels like it could be a lot of data. You talked about how to organize this data. Do you have any recommendations around how to get started on this? Any like best formats, tools, etc.?
So your own profile on Instagram, if you have it set to your professional account, will give you a lot of the data that we mentioned. So it will give you what age are the people that are following you, what age range they are, if they're more female, males, where they're located. So you can see if they're in California or somewhere else in the country. You can get a lot of information from that and from people who are already engaging with our content. But if you want to look up to other platforms and then organize that data, I would then create a file on your computer that you could do yourself, or a notebook, or anywhere that you want to store this information in, and then start researching what the population that you want to reach is doing and what trends are relevant to them. But everything is free online. You just have to Google it. You just have to look for yourself. But yeah, I would start for that. Like, for starters, what will be the first thing to do? Like, just see who is already following me and why they're following me and how I can continue engaging them. And then if I want to expand to another audience, and if I have like a second priority population, research where they're at and what they're doing so I can then reach them there.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciated this. It's one of those things where, I like to think that I'm knowledgeable on social media, and then I have presentations like this and I'm like, I don't know anything. I only know the things that I follow. So really appreciate it. If anyone in the audience does have any questions, like I said, feel free to email. You can email me, you can email our unshamedca@shatterproof.org, and we will make sure you get connected with the right person, whether it's Bella, Grace, Sam, whoever it is, or someone on our team. We want to hear from you. We want your questions. We want to spread as much of the information as we have, because it's going to take all of us, right? So really appreciate that. This is going to be our last webinar in this format for a while, but keep an eye out for future learning opportunities. We will be having some exciting live Instagram naloxone trainings coming up in the future. Or if you want a specific training that you didn't see throughout this, please reach out to us and let us know, and we'll see how we can make sure that that happens. Otherwise, thank you guys again. Really appreciate the time, and thank you to everyone in our audience. You'll be hearing from me soon. Hope everyone has a good rest of your day.
Hi, thank you.
Thank you.